Okay, bosses, you've heard the old expression, oh, if I get hit by a bus, not only will it hurt, of course, but beyond that, what do I do as an employer to keep the business running? We're with Amy Richardson, richardsonprosolutions.com. Amy, you've experienced this over the last few months.
That's right. So one of my key employees, which I've spoken on before, Amber, she was my first employee. She's my lead bookkeeper. She is the funnel for all of our bookkeeping clients. She was unexpectedly admitted to the hospital 2 weeks ago. So we've been missing her for 2 weeks. And let me tell you, the struggle has been real.
Oh, I understand that. And, the question is, how do you prepare for the unexpected? So how do you prepare?
That's right. So we'll take a step back for a second, because if you think about when someone is out, let's say for a dentist appointment or a vacation, that is planned. It's very easy to get all of your ducks in a row and everything written down before you go. But when someone is taken unexpectedly, it looks a lot different. So the answer to your question is get them to write everything down.
Okay.
Right? Or now you can record what you're doing. So our team uses Teams through Microsoft. And when they are doing something, say running a particular type of payroll or creating a newsletter or whatever it may be, they just record their screen and talk us through what they're doing, and we save those recordings to view later.
Wow. Most interesting. And again, Amy handles back office solutions for companies, and including the process. And you may have heard the axiom SOP. How is that defined?
Standard operating procedures.
Okay. And are there certain standard operating procedures that we should all have as employers?
I would think so. And it depends really on what you do and how you do it and what industry you're in. It's really going to look a lot different from SOPs in, say, a manufacturing facility compared to an accountant's office.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say brainstorm with your team about those things that you do often or over and over again. Or in our case, with Amber, she has those particular bookkeeping clients, and every one of those clients has something very special about them. And there's nuances with each of those accounts that makes it very hard for someone else, say myself, when she's in the hospital, to be able to jump in and pick that up. So thankfully, the situation wasn't any worse than it was, that she was still coherent and able to help talk me through those things.
Right.
But it would have been a lot easier if I had that written down or in a video or in a checklist that I could have followed, so that she wasn't also feeling the pressure of being in the hospital and having to talk me through how to do something over the phone. So.
Well, the good thing is we can write down 6 tips, okay? We're going to start through it. One would be create uniformity. Mm-hmm. So how do you think that should go?
Right. So again, those things that you do over and over and over again, and making sure that no matter who is doing that process, that it looks the same every time.
Okay.
So thinking of those checklists that you can just work your way down.
And we mentioned reducing of training time, written guidelines. Mm-hmm. I mean, would this be in the form as extensive as a handbook?
It could be.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a restaurant client that we've helped them with their handbook. And yes, everything is written down on, where you're supposed to park, what your uniform is supposed to look like, your check-in and check-out process, how you request time off. All of those things get written down, and all of it is in that one resource. Absolutely.
Okay. A third one, it almost reminds me of the FAQ on a website, I suppose, offering quick answers to frequent questions.
Yes. So again, thinking about those things that may get done over and over again, but having the ability of a different teammate to be able to come in and execute that in your place. And something that you may not think of as being very important, but may be important to them because they don't know not being in that account all the time.
Maybe it's a timeline of when something occurs for a client, for instance.
Right. And this past week with Amber, like I said, her having to help me over the phone with a particular payroll that had to be pulled out of a different system, and making sure that you're in this particular menu and there's this obscure checkbox in the corner that you got to make sure is checked. Just that knowledge that just isn't automatically there. It's things that she's learned over the past year or so working with that client, and are things that really should be written down.
And how about just communications in general, streamlined communications?
Right. So this could look like a bank of SOPs. So for our team, we have SOPs set up for the different softwares that we use. So using Teams and setting up a meeting with a client, or using Asana, which is our project management tool, or our password keeping software, whatever it may be. We have SOPs set up for those, and that is in our onboarding process for our new employees. So it's a way for them to easily see how to use those different applications coming in, and also something that they can reference back to later.
And of course, the fifth benefit obviously is being more efficient, saving time, clarifying things for team members, the workflow. And the last one, and I guess it's the goal when somebody is out of pocket, has to do with mistakes. We all make mistakes, of course. Do you think it can cut down on mistakes with an SOP?
Right, absolutely, because you're working with that as a guideline and a checklist to make sure that you're doing everything right the way that other team member would do when they're out. So absolutely.
Okay. And again, to learn more about the processes and really interesting back office solutions that Amy has, it's richardsonprosolutions.com. And here's hoping that Amy nor you ever get hit by a bus, but you are prepared should that happen.
That's right. And we can always come in and help your team brainstorm and think about those different processes and how we can get that either written down or put into video or in a checklist form. Again, it depends on you, your business, your industry, and what you do on what's going to be the best fit, but we can absolutely help you brainstorm.
Thank you very much, Amy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Neil.